everyone. Thanks for watching this video on add-ons that I've made. I don't know shit about editing videos or anything like that. I don't think I have the right programs to do it, so maybe I do, I don't know. But anyways, just going to do a quick run through of the add-ons that I use and kind of their applications, and I'm going to try and keep it concise. I've actually made 2 videos previously on this, and both of them were over half an hour, and after I watched them I realized that I'd forgotten a bunch of stuff. So I'm going to jump right into it and hopefully not take so goddamn long. Before I go to my little druid area and show you a few things about combat, start with a couple add-ons here in BFA content. The first one is Angry World Quests, and it allows me to see and sort world quests by their reward and by zone, so I can target them directly and do just the ones that I want. I have to worry about looking through all the different bubbles to find them. You can do it by zone or by just like the map in general. Another one while we're on the map that's cool is I use Gathermate 2, which allows me to see where I've gathered, in my case, herbs. It would work with mining as well, and that helps me find the more denser concentration zones. I have not used this add-on very long, so the information that I have on the maps that you're seeing is not fully complete. In line with maps is Sexy Map over here. Sexy Map allows you to customize your mini-map. It's got a lot of different like preset things that you can do for animations around the map and that kind of stuff. I'm pretty basic, so I just go with the square one. And the main reason I use it is because you can drag your bubbles around the map so that things aren't so stacked up on top of each other and weird, including calendar and bubbles that I don't have any idea what they're actually for, even tracking. So that one's pretty cool. Obviously I use Bartender. You can see that I've customized my UI quite a bit in that regard. And I'll show a little bit more on that as soon as I get back to the druid area. Dang, I'm almost positive I'm forgetting something that is relevant to BFA content, but I guess I can come back if I think about it. We will dream walk now and go back to the druid class hall. I'll go to the target W's and show you kind of a few things about how my UI works. You can see shadowed unit frames here, so player and target. Target would also show like target of target and target of target of target, which that final one is probably really not all that useful, but I like it. So you can see like when I select myself, player, target, target of target, target of target of target, and since I'm targeting myself, it's going to be all me all over that. Another thing that is something that I really find useful, primarily on my druid, a little bit on my demon hunter as well, or any class really that has multiple speed things, is an add-on called Monkey Speed, and it's really basic. It has very little customization that I'm aware of, but that's this here. So it shows me my actual movement speed. So I can go into flight form and it goes up to 420. If I were in stag form, it would probably be at 200. If I were to sprint in cat form, 194.3, etc. Backpedaling at 64.3. And it also kind of color codes based off of what your movement speed is. So if you're getting slowed, you can see how much, and I find it useful. So keep an eye on this bottom right corner here. These bars, as soon as I go into combat, will all disappear. I have them set to disappear while in combat, and I find that useful. I don't need like my mount bars in combat because I can't mount. I use threat plates. Now this isn't a very good example of it because these dummies are considered tapped. So they're gray, so they actually don't show up, but if they were red, if they were like actual hostiles, all three of them would have threat plates up, and it keeps a dot timer on the top, so I can have a good idea of who has what dots and that kind of stuff. So that's an add-on that I find pretty much essential to gameplay. It's also great because this will color code based off of threat, so I can tell if I'm losing threat on something and if it's going to go attack someone else, or if it is attacking someone else actively. Um, the thing that I use, I don't actually use this when I'm on my when I'm tanking on my druid. I usually have it turned off, but for the sake of um, this video, I have healbot turned on, so that's what that is. If there were multiple classes, like if I was in a group, that would grow. It would show all of them in there, and I have it set to display color based off of class color. So it shows me if I have HOTS on the character, etc. Another thing that you may have just seen there is quartz down here in the bottom. So that red bar is when I can actually cast again. So that's great. Not sure if I can't remember if I mentioned weak auras. So this is actually all one weak aura. That technically you have to create your own, but also what's cool about weak auras is that you can go in, and that only shows up in combat. What's cool with weak auras is you can actually go in and import strings. Come on, let me out of combat. That was kind of perfect timing. There we go. So you can import a string. So there's actually a website called Wago. Oops. Wago. It doesn't like me actually typing in there. It just wants me to copy paste it. I'll type it down here. It's wago.io. And you can find people's weak aura strings that they have made themselves, and you can copy that string and then post it into there. So that's what I've done with most of my characters, so that I don't have to actually spend hours creating my own, and then you can edit them as you need to or want to. So that's that. Another thing that I like about Bartender, I'm kind of jumping all over the place here, but is that it's really easy to keybind things, because when you open up the menu, you can actually hit keybinds here and just hover over the thing that you want to bind and make that key binding. So for me, I use 1 through 4, and then Shift 1 through 4, Control 1 through 4, Control Shift 1, 2, 3, and then I've keybound my mouse buttons. I've got 3 thumb buttons on my mouse, and I've keybound those, although some of this stuff is left over from when I go to Boomy Affinity in the Guardian talent tree, which I do on certain fights in Oldir, just to increase the range, but typically I do go with Resto, but that's a completely different thing. And then C, Q, E, Z, X, and then their Shift and Control modifiers below are the general add-ons that I use. I have another button on my mouse that I use for Hellstones, and then I keep that profile the same on all of my characters. All of my interrupts are on X. Again, this is not necessarily relevant to add-ons, but it helps me, being an alt-horror, at least keep a kind of baseline of mediocre instead of just being outright bad. Let's see, I'm going to take a look at my add-ons here and see what I have missed. Advanced interface options is really nice. There's a lot of things that over the past few expansions have been taken out of the Blizzard interface section, and you can get them back with this add-on. So you can open that up and go through and turn on things that, for whatever reason, seem to just keep kind of going away, even though they still exist in the game. Auctioneer is an add-on that is really useful for buying and posting add-ons, or buying and posting auctions. For example, when I hover over this piece of gear, it'll tell me like what the average price is. Now, I've only had this add-on for a couple weeks, so it's not the best. My particular information is not the most thorough. But one thing to keep in mind with gear specifically is that it doesn't update at 4 item level. It just updates it based off of the name of the item. So um, that market price of 77,035 gold is actually probably lower than what these would sell for, because that would include people posting like their 340 item level raid fighter BOEs that they've gotten. So, and I saw one on there this morning for like 15k, which I probably should have purchased and just posted again for like 30k and made a quick 15k, but it didn't. Um, this add-on is Bag Brother, so it turns everything, or Bag Non rather, it turns everything into one big bag, and you can still tell your add-ons, or sorry, you can still tell your bags what you want them to do, and then it automatically sorts the gear in there, and I prefer it. Also, if I were to hover over gold, it would show me my entire account gold, which I don't think is any damn business. Um, Also, kind of cool when you hover over things, it tells you which characters have it and how many of them they have. Um, I play on a couple different computers, so it's not always perfectly accurate on mine, because, like, for example, if I were to have received 3 of these Battle Scarred Augment runes on my Warlock on my work computer, I would actually have 5, but this computer hasn't seen it, so it only thinks 2. But um, same with um, this business here with the herbs. I would need to open the guild. If I were to open the guild bank right now, it would also tell me how many were in the guild bank, not just what's in my bags and in my bank. Um, this same screen happens with my personal bank as well as my reagent bank and that kind of stuff. Guild bank, I don't think has changed too much between with that add-on. What else have I got here? Bartender I've talked about. Capping is an add-on that I use that shows battleground timers and wall percentage and that kind of stuff. Champion Commander, I'm not sure I did actually show that. That was at the beginning there on the boat. Anyways, it simplifies the mission table. Details I've definitely talked about, and if not, it's pretty straightforward. It's my damage and healing add-ons. There's a lot of good information on it. It's great for stuff. It's better than Recount and Scada for sure. I was a little slow on the go for that one. Easy Scrap is a great add-on that allows you to put multiple items into the scrapper at once. It runs a little bit smoother than the in-game UI, and you can also single out specific items that you don't want it to scrap, so that's nice. Gathermate I talked about. Healbot is mostly part of Handy Notes is basically part of Gathermate, I believe. Healbot I talked about a little bit. Again, that's the one that I use that allows me to just have mouse over macros on the raid, basically. So instead of having to select a character and then heal, I can actually just heal them. I don't have it set up because I'm in Guardian right now, and things get weird. Actually, like I said earlier, I don't really use it in Guardian very often. Formant is just like a bugging tool, I think. Monkey Speed I talked about, that's this bar down here. Leatrix Plus is cool, and there's a lot to it, so I won't go into it in too much detail. But you can go through and have it like sell junk automatically and repair automatically, so similar to like the Azeroth autopilot stuff, automatically release in PvP. I have it so it automatically accepts party invites from friends, and if they queue for something, it automatically accepts that as well. Back into add-ons. I believe I talked about Shadowed Unit Frames. Sexy Map I've talked about. Threat Plates I talked about. Weak Auras 2, good. DBM doesn't need much talking about. I'm positive I'm forgetting something, but I think that should basically do it. Azeroth Autopilot is great for leveling. Gives you a little arrow, tells you exactly where to go. Ask Mr. Robot I use for my Sims. Angry World Quests I'm pretty sure I showed. Announce Interrupts is great. When you actually interrupt something, it'll say that you did it and link the ability. It's better than a macro that just says you did, because if someone else beat you to it, you didn't actually interrupt it, whatever. So Announce Interrupts is great for that. blood shield tracker I use on my Blood Death Knight. It tells me how many stacks of bone shield I have up, and how much my Death Strike will heal and absorb for. Chatter is an add-on that I use for text stuff. It's great. I don't think I have it on this particular character right now. I don't. I'll turn it on just to show you. Come on, game. Load faster. Come on, game. Load faster. Pretty please. Chatter School, there's a little bit more text options that you could use with it. A little bit more customizable. But the thing that I like about it the most is, if this game ever loads, is that it allows you to copy links super easy. So let's say I type that, right? And then I click on it. Gives me a window to actually like copy and paste that into my URL, which is awesome. Also, it's cool because I can put the text box on top, so I can move this to the bottom left, have my text on top, and it takes up essentially less room of my screen. Easy to resize, and I like the font better and that kind of stuff. What else am I forgetting here? I think that's it. That's at least the majority of them. If I had to put add-ons into a quick top 5 add-ons section, I would go bartender, details, weak auras, definitely important. DBM I find infinitely useful. And the 5th one is probably threat plates. I don't have a good representation of it right now, but it's really awesome to have. So, alright everyone, thank you for watching. I hope this video was at least somewhat informative and not too painful to get through. Thanks again.